Welcome back, everyone, and we have yet another example of an extremely misleading headline and a badly researched article. If the headline here is to be believed, the Trump administration is aiming to eliminate citizenship of all children of LGBT couples, which is not true. Period. Okay? In the case of birthright citizenship, you must be biologically related to an American citizen. Now, birth certificate was asked for in this case. They didn't have the birth certificate. So, how do you prove you're related to an American citizen if you don't have an official government document? In this case, a gay couple, two men, had a surrogate where basically there was a sperm donation, an egg donor, and a surrogate, carried the child to term, gave birth, and that was it for that. And this is where the writing in this one gets very shady because it acts like, according to the headline, because it is a couple, it's a gay couple, two men, they're acting like that is the reason that birthright citizenship wasn't just granted on the spot. It's not. See, the mother in this case would not have been an American citizen. So, because of the fact that this couple cannot reproduce on their own without any help from any other person, because they didn't have a marriage certificate and because they did not have a birth certificate, all they had was a Canadian passport, how are we to know for 100% certain this child wasn't adopted? And that's the crux of the matter. This is something that with a birth certificate proving, and you want to go even further, do a paternity test. Whichever one of the dads donated the sperm, if they're both American citizens, one of them will be proven to be the biological father, and poof, you have a biological connection to an American citizen. Birthright citizenship, when you look at the actual amendment, it is you are born to at least one U.S. citizen, and you have no other obligation to any other government. Okay, this is why dual citizenship is something that I do not agree with, because you are ostensibly beholden to two nations, and that is something that should not be done to a child, shouldn't be done to anyone, but especially not a child. In this case, however, we have a couple with a very young child, pardon me, and when they're asked for the documents that will prove that this is the biological child of one of the American citizens in question, they don't have the documents. This doesn't ever talk about that simple fact. It's not because they're gay. If my wife and I, well, if I was married, my wife and I are on vacation in Canada, Italy, doesn't matter. And she gives birth while the child is, or while we are there, she and I would have to prove that the child is biologically ours. Okay? Say we got married in a rash ceremony that is not legal according to immigration law. It wouldn't matter. Would not matter one bit that we were not legally married until we went to somewhere in the U.S. where we're legally allowed to get married again. It wouldn't matter. Say we were engaged and she's pregnant, and we're going to wait until after the baby's born and she gets her figure back to get married, and she has the baby while abroad. We're not married, out of wedlock. Wedlock doesn't mean anything except please prove the baby is biologically yours. Had this been a heterosexual couple that was not married, they would be asked to prove the same thing. But we're seeing a lot of these type of stories where when the law is enforced by the Trump administration, it's the most evil thing on the planet. Never mind that this is the same law that's been in effect for decades, in this case, longer, and was enforced by Obama and Clinton and Carter and LBJ. They don't care about any of that because they don't care what a Democrat president does. The infamous kid in a cage picture was taken in 2014 while Obama was president, and it was a protest. That was not a child in a cage Obama put them in. It was a child being used to protest Obama. The infamous scenes where it's army cots, thermal blankets behind chain link fence. Obama. But President Trump is enforcing immigration law, and now we're to ignore it. AG Barr is rightly telling Congress, I cannot fully unredact the report for you. It contains information that by law you are not able to see without a court order. Therefore, I will not break the law, and they issue a subpoena. Eric Holder claims executive privilege over Fast and Furious, and nobody says a word. It is hypocrisy, is what it is. Birthright citizenship is clearly defined, and the process to prove it when it is not readily just undeniable is the same for heterosexual couples, lesbian couples, gay men couples, doesn't matter. If you are not able to prove the child is biologically yours, the citizenship is in question until you can. Whichever one of these men donated the sperm can take a paternity test, which can be done with a buccal swab, the inside of your cheek, and it can prove a first-degree relation. It would also prove if, say, I was dating someone and my nephew was born, say, we all went to Canada. My nephew was born, and my brother and sister-in-law had asked my girlfriend and I to take custody, okay? Wild situation, but say we had that. And on returning, we have to prove that the child is mine. And we do the buccal swab. It would say, yeah, first degree relation, but not dad. I'd have to get my brother to come home and prove that he is a citizen, and then prove that he is biologically related to my nephew as his father. Then birthright citizenship would be applied. This is a dangerous path we're walking here. Anything and everything is reported in such a slanted way that we never get to the center of an issue. Now, this is not CNN or MSNBC or anybody else. This is Daily Beast. But with the just explosion of media outlets, journalists everywhere, we have so many people reporting in their own way that we never really get just the facts, the who, the what, the when, the where, and the how, not the why. Just who, what, when, where, and how. Boom. If this was reported that way, there would be those who would say that it's homophobic, it's discrimination. And it's not, it's enforcing the law. It is not racist to tell people who illegally enter Mexico and traipse thousands of miles to get to the U.S. border and then try to enter the country illegally, sorry, no, wait on that side while we process you. That's not racist, that's the law. And we need to get back to reporting in that manner, okay? Yes, I know, when you look at large metropolitan areas, when you look at Chicago, the vast majority of people arrested are African American. They make up a large percentage of the population there, and we have a gang problem. And inner city, where you get the lower income, unfortunately, Chicago has been predominantly African American low income. You get kids who are poor, and some drug dealer says, I can give you money. A lot of them are going to be dragged in, and it's horrible. You look at Los Angeles, predominantly Hispanic, we're in this situation. It's not racist, it is statistics. It's the same crap we saw many years ago where supposed racial profiling was to be done away with. And many people rightly said, why? If we have video that we can't clearly get an identification on, but we know it is a Hispanic male, roughly 5'7", that is in his late 30s to early 40s, we look for a Hispanic male in his late 30s to early 40s who's around 5'7". We don't arrest black women who are 4'11". We don't arrest white men who are 6'4". When you know the basic description of someone, you use it. When statistics show you something, you don't say, well, that's racist. Math is not racist. Math is math. And the law is not racist or homophobic. The law is the law. I can almost guarantee you that we will hear nothing else of this because whoever was the sperm donor will be able to say, I am the father. And when they do the buccal swab or whatever and prove that he is the biological father, this situation will go away because, oh, you're a U.S. citizen. You're the biological father. Child is a citizen. It's not because they're gay. It's not because they're not married according to the law. It's because there was no incontrovertible proof of a biological relationship with one of these two men and the child. Once that is proven, this whole issue goes away. It would be the same for an unmarried heterosexual couple. You would have to prove the child is yours. And the only real caveat to it is the birth certificate is going to list that this child was born by surrogate, which is rather obvious, as human males cannot get pregnant and give birth. Only biological females can. So that rightly would have the question of, we need to verify that you are the father. And I've never been through this. I'm not married, no kids. And I've never had anyone that I know go through this. So, in my mind, I would assume the same would go for any couple. Now, it's all also down to the person interacting with the couple in this case. If you have someone who looks at a birth certificate signed off by a doctor, and you have a man and a woman, and it is written right there, they are mother and father, and you have ID, there are people who are going to go, oh, yeah, that's your kid. And there are people who are going to look at this couple and say, well, we have to prove. And there's not anything that should be changed there. Physically, medically, two men cannot conceive, gestate, and birth a child without any other help. The story here even says that there was a surrogate that carried the child to term and gave birth. The surrogate is the mother of that child. There is a biological connection with the mother of that child. So now we have to prove a biological connection to a U.S. citizen. It's that simple. And there's the other very simple part of any story like this. When you have a law that you disagree with, you don't demand it not be enforced. This story is written in a way to say, never enforce the law. If someone says it's my child, just believe them. And that's wrong. It is. You don't like the law, you contact your congressional representatives. You contact them and you tell them what has happened, what the law is, how it was enforced, how you feel it's wrong. If you convince them to introduce legislation that would change the law, that is then allowed to flow through Congress. If that law passes and is signed, the law changes. That goes for everything, from this to taxes to every other law on the books, period. I just don't see the confusion. But I'm me. And I've talked long enough. Let me know what you think in the comments. Just remember to keep it civil. We don't learn from argument. We learn from debate. As always, please remember to like and share the video, as well as to subscribe and turn on notifications so that you are kept aware of all new content as it is posted. Until next time, everyone, have a wonderful day.